hear me from here? No.
Yes.
Thank you, Professor Jacowitz. Thank you to my teachers, to our esteemed faculty and staff, proud families, and most importantly, my junior colleagues. Today marks a transformative moment. כשהזמינו אותי לדבר היום, השאלה הראשונה שלי היה, אבל באיזה שפה? האם לדבר בעברית, כי זו השפה המדוברת במדינה שלנו? האם לדבר באנגלית, כי יהיה לי קל יותר, ולכם אולי יותר נעים, בלי המבטא הגרוע והשגיאות. האמת, אני מאמינה שהשפות של התוכנית צריכות להיות גם וגם. אנחנו גרים במדינת ישראל, ואנחנו צריכים להיות גאים שעברית היא השפה שלנו. ולמי שעדיין קשה כי הוא עוד חדש, להתאמץ. אבל כדי להיות רופא שלומד ועובד בעולם הגלובלי, חייב אנגלית ברמה אקדמית. ולא נשכח את האתגר לגשר ביניכם ובין השנים הקודמות. אז אולי נעשה גם וגם. אתם באמת סוג של ניסוי. אתם מצד אחד המשך על כל מה שהיה, ומצד שני דבר לגמרי שונה וחדש. קיבלתי הכבוד לדבר איתכם היום, לא בגלל התפקיד שאני ממלאה כסגנית האחראית על ענייני סטודנטים, אלא כבוגרת התוכנית, שחיה יום יום את המישן של הבית ספר לרפואה בינלאומית. אני מאוד גאה בזה שאני בוגרת אוניברסיטת בן גוריון. אוניברסיטה על שם ראש הממשלה הראשון של מדינת ישראל. הוא האמין שעתיד המדינה הוא בלתי נפרד ותלוי בפיתוח ונחלה של הנגב. אני מרגישה שאני עושה את החלק הקטן שלי בזה כל יום שאני מגדלת באושר את המשפחה שלי פה. ב-2016 חזרתי לבאר שבע אחרי 9 שנים שבה עשיתי התמחות ועבדתי בארצות הברית. כשפגשתי סטודנטים לרפואה 10 שנים צעירים ממני, הרגשתי שותפות והבנה שבקושי מצאתי אצל קולגים אחרים. אולי החיבור משני לסיבות שבגללם בחרנו ללמוד בבית ספר לרפואה הזה. בגלל הערכים שלנו שהיו לנו טרום לימודים והרצון לשרת. ערכים שלכל בן אדם בעולם מגיע רפואה נגישה ותואמת לתרבות שלו. אבל אני חושבת שהאופי של הבוגרים הוא דבר שנפתח לאורך השנים של הלימודים בתוכנית, שנגרם גם חלקית על ידי ההשפעה אחד על השני, וגם חלקית משני להשפעה של המרצים. התכנסנו היום כדי לסמן את הצד הפורמלי, הטרנספורמציה שלכם, מסטודנט למדע למרפא. היום אתם מקבלים חלוק לבן, המדים של המטפלים. אבל זה רק מדהים. השבועה שאתם לקחתם היום היא צעד טרנספורמטיבי פנימי. רפואה זה לא רק תפקיד שאתם ממלאים בשעות שאתם מלבישים את החלוק. הוא זהות שאתה מרוויח דרך לימודים עצומים ועבודה יום ולילה ליד הסובל. נפגשנו רובנו ביום הראשון שלכם. סיפרתי לכם חלק מהסיפור שלי, אבל אוסיף עוד קצת. המטרה שלי היום זה לנסות לחבר אתכם יותר למסורת של הרפואה, ובמיוחד לבית ספר הקטן שלנו, עם התקווה שזה יעזור לכם לאורך השנים למצוא את דרככם שלכם לכולל רפואה גלובלית בתוך הזהות וערכים בעבודה שלכם. Okay, enough Hebrew. Today I am the director of the Klali Clinic in the Yud Aleph neighborhood of Beer Sheva. I supervise 25 staff members and I am responsible for the health of nearly 10,000 residents of this city. In addition, I continue to serve as a family physician for 1,600 of them. 30% of our clinic's patients are Ethiopian, but my personal patient panel is 50% Ethiopian. I tell myself that this is because they recognize that I am enthusiastically and lovingly practicing the skills and the values I developed here. Many more of our patients are immigrants from Russia, from Ukraine, from Morocco, from Tunisia, and just about every other country of the Jewish diaspora. Before the winter of 2003, when I came to interview with Professor Carmi Margolis, who co-founded the program, I had never been to Beersheba. During my undergraduate studies at the now famous Columbia University, I spent a year abroad at Hebrew University. In Jerusalem, I found a way to volunteer with MADA before it was a thing that people did. After I returned to New York, I studied nursing and worked in pediatric neurosurgery. But when I chose to come back to Israel to study medicine, I thought it was just for a few years. I imagined myself practicing in Harlem, a poor inner-city neighborhood in New York. There, I could serve the needy and return home at night to the comfort of my sophisticated personal life. That was my vision. I also didn't imagine that I would ever live or necessarily work in the third world. But I knew that the skills and the values that make a good doctor there would also make me a good doctor in the inner city of America. Plus, I will admit that the kosher McDonald's on campus, something that still doesn't exist in the US, was enticing. We all have our weaknesses. When I interviewed at MSIH, only one class had graduated, and the second class was in the process of applying for residency. That in itself was a bit of an adventure. Living in Beersheba in 2003, just shortly after Beersheba advanced off the official list of development towns, was certainly not like living in New York. I personally supported one of the first sushi places in Beersheba and volunteered to translate the menu to English so other medical students could also enjoy it. As co-founder of the Student Council, I participated as we debated back and forth, calling today's ceremony the Physician's Oath Ceremony or the White Coat Ceremony. In our ceremony, unlike many around the world, we do not take the Hippocratic Oath. Decade after decade, our wise sage, Professor Glick, has dutifully led generations of us in accepting on ourselves the oath with the tradition of Rambam and a 1,000-year-old Jewish tradition of healing. The student body has changed over the years. Back in the day, I was the only person in my class who kept kosher. But somehow, the values and the culture of the program have persisted. During the COVID outbreak, we had alumni in the leadership at the CDC, at the WHO, at Misrad Abriut, all working together, each informal ambassadors representing us with distinction, collaborating to respond to a scenario we could only have imagined in our global health seminars. A well-known joke in Israeli medicine, back when there were only 4 medical schools, describes a patient lying in a hospital bed. 4 doctors come together to his bedside, one with the newest technology, one reviewing the latest research, one citing the financial implications of illness, but only one doctor, the doctor from Beersheba, sits down beside the patient, takes his hand, and speaks to him. This is the legacy of medicine at Ben Gurion. You first-year class have had one of the more surreal beginnings to this journey. Until now, Ben Gurion's 2 medical schools have maintained 2 distinct identities. Only the future will tell how this relationship will evolve. My prayer today for you, class of 2027, is that you will continue this tradition, and we will find ways to draw on the best of each of the programs to train physicians who will both invest in building the Negev and share our light and our knowledge around the world. I have stood here at this ceremony many times, and each time, as you take the oath, I reaffirm mine. I am reminded how fortunate I am to have the privilege of this profession. I worked here in Beersheba for several years before the movie Red Sea Diving Resort came out on Netflix. Through the controversy that surrounded the movie's release, I discovered that some of the family of the hero on which the movie is based are my patients. Only then did I begin to really grasp the stories of the people I was treating. Many of my patients walked hundreds of kilometers through Sudan to fulfill the promise of Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. 25% of those who set out died along the way. They died from the diseases we learn about in global health: dehydration, diarrhea, measles, war. A dear friend lost her mother at the age of 7 on the way. Now I am her aunt's doctor, her aunt who raised her and her siblings together as her own. Another elderly couple that particularly frequent my office have no children, and despite being here many years, they, like many other older Ethiopian immigrants, are not literate in any language. The wife suffers from fibromyalgia and often comes in with the same complaints of her pain. Her husband devotedly accompanies her and comforts her. A couple years ago, while he was hospitalized with a GI bleed, she appeared in my office. Something stopped me. Perhaps it was the help of a lovely Arab medical student that led me to discover that my patient was very stressed because she didn't know how to dial the telephone. And so she hadn't been able to communicate with her husband for over a week. Not only that, I discovered that it wasn't that they never had children. That is a painful enough burden for any couple in a traditional society. But they had 2 children, and they died on the way to Israel. My heart ached for them and for all the families who had similar stories. When my student and I finished our list of patients for the day, we drove her to the hospital to visit her husband. Her relief and gratitude were indescribable. Our clinic has a reputation as a difficult place to work. The patients are complicated, as are their lives. For me, this is what makes it meaningful. For many in medicine, the goal is to cure cancer or other lofty ambitions. I feel fulfilled being part of the community I work in and helping them live happier, healthier lives a little bit each day. I am grateful that I have found my way of fulfilling the mission of MSIH.